And I understand why you would say that, because we ought to be welcoming the fact that the government are now announcing that they're going to be building 2,300 affordable homes. But the reality is that we are receiving this information with just as much skepticism as I am sure the vast majority of those young Gibraltarians who want to purchase their own affordable homes are receiving it. And why do I say that? I say that because back in January 2025, in his New Year's message, the Chief Minister made pretty much the same announcement on behalf of his government, which was that they were going to be reclaiming land by Westview Park, and that in excess of 1,000, he said at the time, affordable homes would be built. When I issued my statement at the time, I received it with just as much skepticism as I received the news in respect of, for example, because of our experience, precisely because of Peliza Mews and the delays there, 10 years. And Chatham Views, which has also been the subject of delays. So we are saying, this government cannot be trusted in terms of the promises, and here we are. They have now broken their promise in respect of those initial timelines when they said that keys would be delivered in the early part of 2028.
We know that there are always delays in construction, but what's the alternative? Not to announce any affordable housing at all?
Well, the alternative is to be truthful with the announcements that you make. Because there are people out there who are going to be making their life plans on the basis of what a government says. A government's announcements and statements need to be taken seriously, and people will take them on trust. But you breach that trust when you say, as I said before, almost 2 years ago, that you're going to have houses ready in that plot of sea, which will then become land, in the early part of 2028, and you fail to deliver. So the announcements and the promises need to be real. And we, as the GSD, when we're now eyeing up an election in the next potential year and a half, and we want to be Gibraltar's government, our promises and our undertakings will be made seriously, responsibly, and we will deliver on them.
The government says that the reclamation is expected to be completed in 18 months. It hasn't actually said that the houses would be delivered in a couple of years, as you've stated in your press release.
No, what I was referring to is the statement and the announcement that the Chief Minister made in January 2025 when he said that between 15 and 18 months, houses would be delivered. I was making a reference to that original statement. Now they've changed the goalpost. This is nothing, I mean, let's be clear, this is nothing other than political and electoral posturing, where they're trying to shore up Gemma Arias Vasquez as the next the Chief Minister of Gibraltar, who's making this announcement, and not, let me add, being made by the Minister for Housing, who is the Minister of the Crown, who is responsible for housing. She's been completely ignored and sidelined in favour of somebody who doesn't have responsibility for housing. She's not yet the Chief Minister, and yet she's making these and heading these announcements. So people need to understand that this is nothing other than electoral games by the government.
Mr. Borsino, let me just ask you, we are expecting a general election in just over a year's time, or whenever it's called. If the GSD were to get into government, what would you do with this project? Would you continue with it?
Well, I think that's a very good question, and it very much depends on where we are on the project. If, my skepticism and our skepticism and our incredulity as far as the government's promises are concerned are proved to be true and not a grain of sand is laid in that area, then we will want to look at our own plans in relation to potential reclamation, perhaps in a different area, because we understand that housing is a very pressing social need. And I go beyond it being simply a social need. It is a community need, and it is a need in terms of our identity, when we're going to have a very big competitor on the other side. Now that we have a free-flowing frontier, indeed no frontier fence, there are going to be many young people here in Gibraltar who are going to be considering the possibility of buying in Spain because it's cheaper and what they get for that buck is going to be better, potentially. So this is an urgent need, not just because it has a social imperative, but also an imperative in terms of our identity as Gibraltarians. And that is something that we take very, very seriously, and we will have, at the time of the next general election, very specific plans. But of course, it's going to be, as far as this particular development and project is concerned, is going to be dictated by how far they progress in the next year or year and a half.
And would you pledge to be more open and transparent with those plans, because that's one of the areas that you've criticised this government with as well?
Yes, absolutely, because this is another area which we haven't been able to cover in this short interview, which is a question of lack of planning. We do not yet have a development plan. And what they did is, with a bit of Tipex in January 2025, drew an area of land by Westview Park saying, look, we're going to be making announcements and you're going to be delivered houses in the next year and a half. None of that has happened yet. And then there are other concerns which have been raised indeed by the GSD at the time of the first announcement, but now also supported by many of the residents in the area who do have concerns about the environment, who do have concerns about the urban massification of the area, who do have concerns because they're asking where on earth in that plot of land are you going to be fitting in excess of 2,000 units? Those schooling, traffic, all those things need to be considered and need to be taken account of. But you only do that if you have a 5-10-year plan into the future and you do things properly. And absolutely, we would be transparent about these plans and not simply make vacuous and empty announcements and statements.